Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this special meeting. Today's date is August the 18th and the time is 5:02. This meeting is in essence about the Pueblo West roads and the IGA and our working relationship within Pueblo West and our Public Works Department. We still have a couple folks that'll be coming in a few minutes, but we're going to go ahead and get started now, and then we can just start with attendance.
Director Roberts, Pueblo West Metro District.
Brian Axworthy, Pueblo West Metro.
Bill Vickers, Pueblo West Metro District.
Paula McFeeters, Pueblo County Commissioner.
Zach Swearingen.
Miles Lucero.
Brendan Hirsch, Interim County Attorney.
Robert Choi, Chief Administrative Officer.
And thank you to everybody else in attendance. As was stated earlier, we're not going to have public comment and stuff, but we are going to have conversations, and we implore all of you to engage with us on a consistent basis, which a lot of you do anyway. So that'll just bring us right into our CAO has got a presentation, and I think that first we'll go through the presentation, see if any questions that you guys have or the general public has can be answered from that presentation itself, and then we'll get into more of the conversation, and then we have our Director of Public Works here too, who can inundate you with information as well. So, which I mean, we were planning on kind of doing anyway. So we'll get you as much information as we possibly can this evening. We're going to try and keep this meeting to about an hour. And then if we need to reconvene, we certainly can do that as well. So Robert, if you want to take it away.
Chair. Thank you to the board for joining us tonight. Thank you everybody who is here. For those who don't know, my name is Robert Choi. I am the new Pueblo County Chief Administrative Officer. And before we get started, I just want to say everything in this presentation comes from county records, the 2023 agreement, and the district's June 22nd letter. Next slide. So as the district nicely laid out in their letter, we have 50 years of agreements as part of the history between the two governing bodies. And every framework on this particular timeline was signed by both governments of its day. And nobody seated here tonight built the older structures. And the boards in this room, I'm happy to say, built the corrective structure to this history. And I know that we would all like to move forward together. Next slide. So the open requests that we have from the district's June 22nd letter, which it made 4 requests. 2 are answered tonight. This very meeting is one answer, and the first delivery of our roads data, where we will be providing you with a workbook and a flash drive momentarily. And the other 2 requests are included here for discussion. And our goal is to leave here with a collaborative shared path on all 4 items. Next slide. As all the parties know and the public knows, 7 days after the letter was sent, the 7th largest fire in Colorado history ignited in this county, and at least 192 Pueblo County families lost their homes. The county has also been working on a financial system conversion and managing dwindling reserves, which are the result of past decisions. But a challenge that has developed, as you saw, over 50 years does take some time to overcome. Next slide. The 2023 agreement. This is the text we measure forward progress against, and we can report today that all applicable taxes are spent on Pueblo West roads, and county money is in fact spent beyond the tax, which includes an amount sufficient for maintenance decided each year in appropriation and includes road construction. The county sets the priorities and the level of maintenance as per the intergovernmental agreement. Next slide. And the tax since 2023, this is the picture of it. The tax has brought in about—
I'm sorry, can you go back to the slide? I just want to be clear. So we're saying that money has been spent from County Road and Bridge for Pueblo West roads?
Applicable taxes, yes, but you'll see on this next slide.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. The taxes brought in about $13.6 million, and the records show it was spent on Pueblo West roads. About 381,000 of this year's tax is recorded and not yet spent, but it is planned. And we have our Director of Roads and Bridges, if you want to add some insight on this particular slide.
Yeah, update on that is that I just pulled the records from our work management system, and then to date today, we've actually spent a total of $3.5 million, which is all listed out and compiled on this thumb drive. It's our work management system called Cartograph that we track all of our pothole patching, road rehabilitation, reconstruction, all of our work. So to date, 8/16, we've spent $3.5 million. You can find that on this thumb drive.
Is that in addition to the 1% sales tax?
That's of
Fund.
what the budget we have spent out of Pueblo County. I don't differentiate between the funds. I have the budget established.
Thank you. Just
Yep.
want to be clear.
Yep,
All right.
Greg, can I ask when that software was fully implemented?
January 1st of this year. We were in trial mode last year in the sandbox, testing it out, getting our data quality improved, and then we launched it fully in January 1st of this year.
Thank you.
Prior to that, we did not have that.
All right, next slide, please. So doing an empirical comparison and looking at this data transparently, the current understanding of our costs show that, as Greg was alluding to, more was spent on these roads than the early reports that you have captured. $5.5 million in 2023 and about $8 million in 2025. With the verification process underway of the cost centers on the road machine that was purchased, that's still in the works. But it does indicate that there was additional costs associated with spending at Pueblo West. Next slide. So the work on the ground, if you look at this slide, it includes West Locoweed Drive, and that particular area went from a pavement score of 20 to 100, which is very substantial. And Roads and Bridges is pulling together the list of road projects for 2027, which you will have shortly. And that will be done with an equal amount of care and quality as we have done with West Locoweed Drive.
Robert, can I interject real
Yeah,
quick?
absolutely,
On
please.
this thumb drive, I also have the 23, 24, and 25 projects list and detail of all the road reconstruction we've done, which would be a combination of overlay, chips and slurry, cape seals, and reconstruction work that we've done since we took over, and some waterway crossbands.
So those are line items with costs associated
Yes.
for each? Okay, thank you.
And as you can see on the slide, the number of projects that we completed since 2023, I think it's significant. And there are some that are under construction now.
That's not a fully comprehensive list. That's just the ones we've done in-house. Primarily, we have on the thumb drive is the contractor work that we've done.
All right, next slide. So I found this formula particularly interesting that was in the district's letter. In the letter, you propose a formula that's relatively simple, but in my opinion, it seemed a little short-sighted. And the reason for that is it calculates equal dollars for every mile and then adds the tax on top. And if I'm using the district's own numbers, the outcome using that calculation proposes to spend about $22,000 a mile in Pueblo West and proposes 11,500 per mile on the county's other 800 miles of roads.
So that's including the additional 1% sales tax that the Pueblo West residents decide to
Well,
temporarily pay?
according to the formula.
Correct.
So, yeah. So again, with this formula, the district appears to be proposing that we spend roughly double the amount on Pueblo West roads as we do on any other county road. So I did notice that.
I have to interject. We're asking for an equal amount out of County Road and Bridge beyond the 1% sales tax.
Okay. Well, the other issue with the formula that concerns me is that it prices every mile the same and doesn't measure the needs of a particular road. And I'm not sure that that would be a reasonable funding standard. Next slide, please. So, the premise of the formula, it looks like uh, the inputs there are that it says that the apparent input is about road length, and that's what you get with that formula. It includes road length, but it leaves out the condition of the road, the traffic, the road type, the surface, as well as bridges. And it treats a gravel local street and a paved arterial road as equal and subject to the same budget amount. And I think everybody knows that, roads are more complicated than that.
Yeah, and I'll add that on this thumb drive as well as the PCI scanning data from 2025. We scanned also in 23, and we are scheduling right now to scan the asphalt roads, and that would be all Pueblo West Road, asphalt roads, and Pueblo County roads. And our road rehabilitation program is built off of the nexus of traffic counts, to scanning numbers, and the third variable is the things like how many customer complaints have we got, how many internal complaints have we had, et cetera, that performs an algorithm that prioritizes our road maintenance. We establish a cost based off of that, and we have a prioritized list that we go after for our road rehabilitation. Bill Francis back here is an engineer we hired on last year that developed the program. It's very powerful, very defendable, and all of that data, scanning data, is on this thumb drive as well. Just for note, there's a lot of roads that are functional gravel, less than 20 PCI and a score of 100. So those are the 142 miles of that. Essentially is the distance from Pueblo to Denver of roads that need to be fully deconstructed and reconstructed.
Appreciate the data on the flat drive. I'm sure we're gonna love that.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Okay, next slide. So this slide is about the 57 miles that weren't built to spec. 57 of Pueblo's West's 401 miles were never accepted as built to county standards, and they bring the county no state fuel tax money. The county chose to take them anyway, and our crews and Craig's crews serve them today, even though. Again, the formula counts them at full weight. And we think those miles show the county's intent and stewardship of Pueblo's West roads. And next slide. And I think encapsulates, our dedication to partnership and collaboration when it comes to Pueblo West roads. Here we see a few numbers from the district's letter. The 52 million that the district spent, according to your exhibit, were on district streets. So they were under agreements that the district's own board signed before. The 125 million points to something that's called avoided costs. But these costs were never the county's responsibility, and therefore, in my opinion, can't be called avoided, since the roads were the district's to maintain from the beginning. The $75 million figure is labeled as an estimate in the letter with no calculation shown, so I can't comment on that. But more to the point, I think the error of all of these numbers ended when the both boards signed the 2023 agreement. So I think, we are looking to move forward rather than looking backward. Next slide. Just zooming out a little bit, here is what the voters approved. These are the words that the voters saw. A tax for maintaining, repairing, and improving these roads, and a tax that shall allow the county to assume the responsibility. The plus factor formula that I mentioned appears in neither the ballot nor the agreement and was not approved by voters. Next slide. This slide is about a term that was used in the district's letter referring to exported revenue. So I just wanted to clear that up. Pueblo West residents paid the county road levy for 38 years while the district maintained its own streets. The exhibit says that those dollars were quote unquote exported to the rest of the county. But state law restricts the road levy to county road system use, and those dollars maintain county roads that Pueblo West residents drive every day. The district maintained the internal streets under its own agreements. So I just wanted to make that clear. And,
So-
you know, the
Mind if
rest
I
of,
expand on that?
yeah, absolutely.
So the issue is, we all, Pueblo West residents all pay county their property and sales tax. The question was, and without proof, which I'm assuming might be on that flash drive, where is our tax dollars going, other than sheriffs, the jail, the courts, elections, the assessor, public health, and human services? Where's the road infrastructure money going? As we could tell, from what we can tell, Road and Bridge gets an automatic allocation of a certain amount of property tax, an allocation of a certain amount of sales tax. How much of that is coming from Pueblo West, and how much of that is being diverted back to Pueblo West? That's where those comments came from.
Understood. And we're going to provide you with data today in the form of a spreadsheet, as well as Greg's thumb drive or flash drive. And I think you'll be able to suss out all of the answers to your questions in that data. I'm a data person myself, so I like to get into that kind of data myself.
I maybe ask a question back or a statement possibly. There is an appropriation of funds from the mill levy for the county that is part of my budget for county roads and bridges that is allocated via mill levy approval of the voting public from, I think, 2004. The Pueblo West, that's property tax. So we need to differentiate property tax versus sales tax. So
Right.
that's property tax funds that comes into my road and bridge budget. I don't know of an appropriation of funds from the Pueblo West property tax toward road and bridges of any sort.
We all pay a county tax.
Agreed. But an appropriation of funds from the mill levy to road and bridge specifically.
We don't know how your mill levy works. I mean, is Pueblo West exempt from that mill levy?
Of course not.
There you go.
So from when you guys are making decisions on the Pueblo West Metro Board, do you ask how much of the tax revenue came from this neighborhood and therefore they deserve a proportional amount of infrastructure investment? That's just not how government works. Do you break it down like that when you're making decisions for the Pueblo West, for the entire Pueblo West Metro District?
That's fair. We understand it's a one large pot, right?
Yeah.
But we're saying we haven't seen any. As far as we can tell, we're hoping the flash drive proves us wrong.
Well,
So
And again, we're
Hold on.
not here to associate blame or assess blame. We're here to move forward, as has been stated, in order to correct the slights that we feel that have been made. Not by your fault, not by our fault. There's bad decisions made for 38 years on past IGAs, creating funding mechanisms that could not take care of the roads in Pueblo West, the 400 miles. So we're just here to help correct that.
Okay.
That's all.
Why don't we,
So what we-
why don't we finish the presentation and then we move on to our conversation? Unless there's specific questions about these slides.
Next slide, please. So section 5.4 of the IGA asks both governments to settle the MS4 permit together by the end of 2023. And the item is still open, so I thought it deserved a slide. So the stormwater permit, it asked both, as I said, it asked both governments to settle it, but neither of us did. And I think there is a clear path here to close it tonight. And I think that the most reasonable path is to address it is that the district stays the permit holder, and a short agreement on compliance will confirm the roles that we both have. And either board can reopen the conversation about the permit at any time. If the district prefers a different outcome, we are listening. But we did do a 2024 audit, and it shows that we need to get some alignment on compliance when it comes to that. Next slide. 2027 budget. So unfortunately, no board in Colorado can promise a future year's appropriation. And section 7.1 of our agreement says exactly that. What the county can say is this, Pueblo West road funding is in the budget 2027 review now. The dedicated fund idea is not a bad one. We're considering it. And it's being weighed in context with the fire costs that we have absorbed and the whole network as a whole for Pueblo residents and visitors. So we are looking at that in our 2027 budget review. Next slide. So I'm the first, after having looked at the state of our data in the county, I can be the first one to say that our data and our reporting has not matched the high quality of our road work. And we definitely own that. Our post-workday implementation financial data is being cleaned up with outside accounting help. And this slide, I think, will help us align on the reporting that the agreement describes. And it is what we are building towards. So, a breakdown of the tax month by month, spending and what money paid for what, as well as the more consistent project statuses. And of course, Greg already promised or already has the project list that we are planning in the next year. So I think we're all looking forward to seeing that. Next slide. So I think we can make 3 commitments as a county, and the first one is more practical. The pavement data we can give you, and we can give you the owed report, the third quarter report by August 30. We're on track to do that. And we can also provide you, as I mentioned, the 2027 project list. And I think we can also commit to attendance at standing meetings, including the Pueblo West Road Tax Committee. We encourage everyone to attend that meeting so that we can all stay aligned. And with that, we all welcome your questions and looking forward to moving forward together.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, so I think now we can get into the Q&A session of this, realizing we all want better roads in Pueblo West. Realizing as well that the implementation of that software can really improve reporting, because I know that that's been lacking. And then I think Greg had mentioned to me something about percentages of population versus percentage of general fund dollars being spent on the roads in Pueblo West. And the amount exceeding the percentage of total population. But yeah, I would say that we just open it up to questions that you guys have, realizing that this is obviously an ongoing conversation and a future and an ongoing relationship that we have with you guys on not just roads, but a lot of different things. So fire away.
So as I was going to say earlier, Greg, we met back at Pueblo West Library, back in April? Okay, and I think we were talking about $3.5 million then too, right?
I don't recall.
From the 2025, what was spent
Total?
for 2025?
Total spent on 2025 was over $5 million at the end of the year.
Okay. What we're trying to do here is right or wrong. We've gone back historically looking at what financials that we can get. And the past practice of the county roads and bridge, okay, as far as dividing that fair share, really hasn't changed that much since the agreement in 2023. So we're looking for clarity and we want to have discussion. We're not looking per se like payback. If you find that discrepancy and we validate that, okay, we just want to make sure that our constituents are made whole and they get the same fair consideration since the 2023 IGA.
Director, if I may, in that agreement in 2023, the county did take on all of the road and bridge staff from Pueblo West Metro. So we took all of that staff over to Public Works. They became part of our team. We adjusted our salaries to be commensurate with their pay, which was a cost to the county. So in lieu of us taking that staff over to our end of the books, the district did realize a savings in staffing that was no longer needed for roads because the county took that on. So I think that's the other side of the coin in the discussion. And I say that I'm a resident of Pueblo West and have been for a very long time. Roads are very concerning to me as well. I live out there. But I think you have to look at all of the factors that went into that agreement. And in 2023, we took all of that staff, the buildings, the equipment, all of that off the books of the Pueblo West Metro. And so that's a net gain for you, a net expense for us. And that is reflected, if you look at the books at 2023 to now, the staffing costs that we now incur, the number of folks located in Pueblo West that work on the roads. But what isn't included and what we are working on, and I'll admit to you, our data needs to reflect this better. The public works staff that Greg manages that work for the county in general that will come over to work on Pueblo West roads don't always hit that Pueblo West budget as an expense. They sit in public works as an expense. They're not always moved over. And that is something we need to do a better job of reflecting so you can see that it's not just the Pueblo West tax paying for the road agreements. It is really Public Works dedicating budget time and resources, not just of materials, but of staff time that normally wouldn't be assigned to Pueblo West that have been.
So Paula, I appreciate the comments. From what we could tell, there's $1.5 million budgeted for salaries and benefits out of the 1% sales tax for just that. And going back to, I don't want to keep bringing up the past, but yes, removing the roads from Pueblo West created a net gain for our metro district, but that was a gain that should have always been there to help pay for our fire department, our parks, and so forth for the development of Pueblo West within our service plan. All the items that we're actually responsible for. Technically, we were never responsible for the roads according to the service plan. The IGAs that were written in the past made that so, and it was, whether it was an error in judgment, but again, we're here to move forward, correct those slights, and help improve Pueblo West. So since we have a lot of stakeholders here, I'd like to talk a little bit about how do we develop a proportionate share of county road and bridge funds to meet Pueblo West's needs.
I mean, again, I think, and Greg can correct me on any missteps in facts, but I think it was just rough numbers. Pueblo West is what, 33% of the total county population, and we're spending 40% of road and bridge budget out in Pueblo West, and that's not including the road sales tax, right?
Well, the road sales tax is what creates the Pueblo West budget. And just for clarity, I don't create the budget. I just spend what I'm given. So I have a Pueblo County budget and a Pueblo West budget, and that's what I spend against. But to your point, yeah, as of end of June, we had spent 42% of our total, if you add the two together, of our funds that spent to date at end of June on Pueblo West roads of the total amount.
I think what I've heard from you guys and other people in the road sales tax committee is the concern that we were only spending the sales tax, the 1% out there, but what we are, I believe, and what we all want to do is make it that's almost a separate, like you get a percentage of the road and bridge budget outside of that 1%, and then that 1% stays 100% in Pueblo West. And our reporting in the past, again, with new software, I think makes that a lot more achievable and easy to read. So where now we can prove that to you.
Okay. So we did see a discrepancy on the 26 budget, revenue versus expenses, just for the 1% sales tax. The expenses did not meet the revenue, nor had a fund balance associated with it. So we want to make sure that not only does the 1% all going to Pueblo West as within the IGA, but also that Pueblo West resident tax dollars paid to the county are going towards the infrastructure of Pueblo West in terms of roads. I'm hoping at this point that that flash drive shows us just that. If not, we'll definitely have a lot more questions and maybe have to require an audit of some sort to follow up on. But going back to the question, I mean, how do we create that proportionate share? And Miles, to your question, now that I've had a couple minutes to think about it, I would think if Pueblo West was divided into, say, 4 major sections, we may focus on allocation of funds to address those 4 sections. If you look at a county, we've got what, Mesa, Pueblo West, Beulah, Rye, Colorado City, including Rye, right?
Fine.
Avondale.
Mesa.
Island, Mesa, right? So 4 major areas. Would you allocate funds to those 4 major areas based on need, road quality, population, traffic?
But not distinct to those, like, it's not a separate pot of money for each one of those people or each
Could it
one
be?
of those areas. Could it be?
Yeah, could it be?
I mean,
If you look at the development and the maintenance of each of those areas, could that be something to really consider?
you'd get the same argument from somebody in Avondale that says, hey, my dollars aren't, I mean, I don't know. That would be, I would ask Greg and our accounting staff and everybody else what that would look like. That's something that quite frankly, we haven't even considered because that's just not historically how it's operated. I mean, we're Pueblo County as a whole, and we try to distribute those funds as equitable as we possibly can to the entire county.
Yeah. If you look at the highway user tax fund, they have an algorithm that they use based on road mile. That's obviously money that's a pass through from the state to county to us and elsewhere, I'm sure.
So Brian, what about every taxpayer within city limits that contributes property tax revenue to our general fund? They get no benefit whatsoever of any road maintenance. How is that different? They could be making the same argument.
Don't you pay money back to the city?
Yes, but
To account for that?
not proportionally.
No.
It's not, no, it's not.
I know you do for sales tax.
And it's not, it's not dedicated to say this proportion came from the city, therefore they're entitled to this proportion, it just goes into the bucket like you described. I 100% understand your argument. I want to be clear. I think you are per the IGA, you are entitled to the 100% of the 1% sales tax out there, and you're entitled to 100% of the HUTF. Now you want to take the remainder of the county road and bridge budget and say Pueblo West needs roughly a third, but that's based on strictly on, like our CAO described, the straight line miles. So we're looking for a proper funding mechanism that prioritizes that the remainder of the county road and bridge fund.
Right.
How do we distribute that fairly? That's what we're talking about. And in
Right.
my opinion, we're doing just that. And we're not doing it based on just a number of miles in the network. We're doing it based on road condition. We're doing it based on all the things that he described. There is a formula to determine the most high need areas and what is fair for the entirety of the network.
Yep. And that's completely fair. The 33% is based on, general road mileage, just to start the conversation. We do think that proportionate does not mean 0. And from what we've seen so far, it's 0. And I'm hoping again that the flash drive corrects us in that. I'm hoping to see
if I can just-
expenses beyond the 1% sales tax that we've been paying. That would be fantastic.
I
And
think
then
we
we
should,
can,
I think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that there are expenses that the county is absorbing that are associated with Pueblo West road maintenance that we just haven't been able to reconcile because of the state of our financial data. And that includes, costs associated with the maintenance shop, with vehicles, with equipment, and all of that is being used for Pueblo West roads. And, the early review looks like it's to the tune of millions. So I don't think that the real question is, are we spending enough. I think we're spending beyond what we need to be spending to make sure that Pueblo West residents get the roads that they deserve. But, you know, I don't think we should get hung up on the definition of fairness. And to Commissioner Lucero's point, we should not treat every road as a center, you know, in terms of looking at it as a center line roads. We've got to come up with a way to do a proper needs assessment for each of those roads and then prioritize in a smart way. So we're all being proper stewards of taxpayers' money, and we're not just apportioning money to roads that, you know, don't need it, and that we're, you know, being inefficient with taxpayer dollars. So if there's a way forward, I think we have to be very smart and tactical about how to apportion some of these funds, but we shouldn't derive the funds based on some abstract definition of fairness.
Director
So-
George, could you explain the condition of the roads on the Mesa from the PCI indexing?
Yeah.
And can you explain how you've managed those roads this year in comparison to the roads in Pueblo West and their PCI score average? So that we can get a full picture of what it means to Public Works in managing both of those distinct areas.
Right. So I've only been the director since March, but obviously I was engineering manager prior to that. So I have kind of the historical back to 2023 and was here when that happened. Just in general, we spend every bit of the sales tax and every bit of the HUTF since 2023 in excess. The problem is we couldn't quantify in excess what that amount was because our data systems weren't good. And of course, our budget and finance team is working on reconciling the budgets for 25 currently and into 24, I believe still. So until those are fleshed out, but recognize that I have a budget that's given to me to maintain the roads, and I've spent all of that over those years. And currently, current state, we're projected to spend, to your point, Commissioner, is we're right now hitting closer to 50% of our funds that we've spent total in all of the county network, including Pueblo West, has been spent in Pueblo West. Because our PCI score is so good in the county, it's first quartile, high 60s, low 70s, whereas the road network in Pueblo West is in the low 40s. So it has been a long history of neglect and older roads that weren't maintained, et cetera, et cetera. So I get it. The need is in Pueblo West, and we've adjusted. Now I can quantify that, which is why I'm telling you we're spending 50% of the funds this year currently in Pueblo West. And that's what you'll see on the flash drive, is the total breakout of everything we've done from pothole patching, reconstruction, sweeping, gravel road grading, everything in a detailed list with costing for Pueblo West.
And George, just for the public, would you, not to put you on the spot, but can you explain what a PCI score is?
Yeah, it's a pavement condition index. It's a 0 to 100 score, 100 being brand new asphalt, 0 being essentially functional gravel.
I don't think that we're trying to dictate how much you pay per mile for road or how much road improvements cost. I think our concern is just an equitable share, a fair share. And that seems to be revolves around the accounting and the information that we do get or don't get. So I think if we can get good accounting and you can show us that, you know, you're spending the appropriate amount of money in Pueblo West, I think that goes a long way, and we can work things out from there. But I do want to address a couple things. You keep talking about the expenses that have been taken over by taking on the roads. I think you're taking all that money out of the sales tax. I don't think any of that's coming out of anything you're doing in Pueblo West is being taken out of that sales tax money. So I just want to be clear that we're not painting the picture that you guys are stepping up to the plate and, you know, doing this out of your own, you know, goodness of your heart. That's coming out of our sales tax money. So
You must have better data than we have then to be able to say that.
I see it in the budgets from what we've seen.
Because,
We don't get a lot of good data, so we'll just leave it at that.
Oh, and we're hoping that the flash drive will bring to light some things. So it seems that we're moving forward on some of the key contractual breaches that we have, namely the failure to provide detailed reporting on the fund expenditures, which you're taking care of with the flash drive, we hope.
So keep in mind, I'm going to provide the budget, which is my budget for
Mhm.
roads maintenance for Pueblo West, which is the HUTF fund, the sales tax, and the, that's a total. So that's what I've spent. What I've tried to explain is the extra that I spend for my county budget. I couldn't quantify that. I have that now, and that's from January to now, to current.
Okay.
Now, as far as appropriate amount of spend, that's a discussion and a deep dive into how the funding mechanisms work, which is not me. That's budget and finance, and that's the boards working together to determine
I
what's
think that'll
a
require
fair and
another
appropriate share.
conversation and some.
Yeah.
Definitely some insight on your algorithm.
Yeah.
Once we see it. So some headway on that. Hopefully we'll look at your current data for this year. You said we're spending 50% of the county road and bridge in Pueblo West.
I have the
Beyond
breakout of
the
Pueblo West
1%.
work, yes, which is 3.5 million today,
Thank you.
from January to today.
We have unfulfilled commitment to expend or demonstrate expenditures of general funds, which we just talked about a little bit. Outstanding commitment from late 2023 as being remained unresolved without adequate communication. So is there going to be any way that we, that has to do with the stormwater permit, sorry. Is at any time, is there any way to receive any of that data about what was spent in County Road and Bridge on Pueblo West roads from 2003 until this year?
I don't have a mechanism to pull that data. I mean, like I said, I
Don't have
manage
line items.
I manage a total budget of 22 million. It's broken out in Pueblo County and Pueblo West. And we spend against those line items. That's the budget I'm given. So I don't have a way to determine what's spent on either one prior to January of this year.
Okay.
I just want to make a point of order. Are any of the board members from Pueblo West attorneys? Because if not,
We have our attorney present if you like.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say that I don't think it's appropriate to use the term breach or failure unless, we're in a legal forum. I think that sort of raises the specter of, things that may or may not be accurate. And since we're on a path to find a way together to move forward and see what we can work out, I think it's just better to avoid that inflammatory legal language because, we haven't established any of that yet. And none of us are sitting here except for the attorneys are lawyers. So I would,
Fair
I
enough.
would caution against
It's
that.
all verbiage. Yeah. Okay.
Director Axworthy, I would say that we did provide to the road tax committee a report this last July. And it did outline the revenue for each of those categories for 2025 that was provided to you. 1% sales tax was 4,083,000. Motor vehicle tax was 47,000. The HUTF was 1.7 million for a total of 5.845 million dedicated to the Pueblo West account. So we have been working towards providing better data, and I wanted to just add, I do agree that in prior years that reporting was insufficient. And I've seen it because I've attended those road tax meetings myself to hear the concerns. And so I really worked hard this last report to get as much accuracy as we could get in the 25 year. The expenditures, again, we have the Pueblo West budget and then we have Public Works as a budget. Some of the difficulty has been the Pueblo West budget is easy to track expenditures because it's hitting it directly. Where it gets a little cloudy comes back to the staffing that Director George has, that he can move from Pueblo West to the county, or in the case of the fires, they were cutting roads in the fire. Those allocations of staffing towards Pueblo West are not reflected in the budget yet. We are working on correcting that in our new system. So the accuracy of what you've been able to see has not been there. What we wanted to get, to let you all know is we recognize that. We are working to improve that, and future budget will tie exactly with expenditures as he has them. But the 1% sales tax is not what I would call, it's not commingled in any other fund outside of Pueblo West. It is in your budget for your expenditure on your roads, and it's for that purpose. And everything above and beyond that comes from the Public Works budget. And that is what we're trying to show you, is that it isn't just, when I mentioned the Pueblo West taking your roads crew coming on over had an impact on our staffing here. We had to bump our salaries up. There was a direct impact to Pueblo West absorbing those staff because they were paid at a higher rate than our staff. And so we did incur expenses that we did not plan on that were a direct impact from Pueblo West being part of our crew now. And so that's been 2-3 years. We've worked through that. And now we've got a team on board that is only in Pueblo West. We have a roads crew engineer, Bill Francis, who's doing a fantastic job of categorizing road quality and all of the factors that go into the road maintenance. And I would say, and the reason I pointed out the Mesa's roads, they are in very good condition, much better than Pueblo West. We are dealing in Pueblo West with very degraded roads that need a lot more work, a lot more time, a lot more planning, and a lot more money. And so as we go through road repair, we're relying on Mr. Francis's ability to plan those projects with the monies that we have to get those projects done. And so we recognize fully that we haven't been able to provide you the data the way you want to see it. But from this point forward, we recognize we need to do that because it's a transparency issue for you as well as us. As we plan for fiscal year 27, how can we push more money to roads in general? That's a goal of mine. I think it's an aspirational goal. I'm not sure with our current budget, we can do much more, but it is something that we need to do better. And as a Pueblo West resident, I live on a gravel road. I completely understand the frustration of residents. I too have to live with the roads that we see. But part of my curiosity in being on this board is to understand, how does the county manage that? How is that road tax handled? And I can tell you, I've attended the road tax meetings. I've been a part of those. And so those are very important, not just for you as board members to attend, but anybody in the community that cares about that. Because quarterly, we will be providing both the financial and the statistical documentation that Director George has on what roads are being maintained, when, where, and how. So I just want to say that I know the history is an issue for some, but to move forward, we have to be on the same page on what we can agree to is an acceptable reality. I don't know if that's the right term, but when we set the budget for public works, we're not asking what proportion goes to what. We just know Director George has projects that need to be done. He's looking at road quality as part of his budget proposal, and we try to give him the money that he needs for what our budget can supply. So that's how the budget's been handled and how it was handled, probably will continue to be handled.
Appreciate it, Paula. And, you know, as far as the accuracy and transparency, that's, as we dove down the rabbit hole, that's what really forced us to require this meeting and create a direction moving forward that's in both best interests. Because we also see the variances in the 6C reporting versus budget actuals, and they're pretty significant, large swings of money, millions of dollars, that we don't see where they go, and we don't have any account for the work that's been done, how much that work costs, and where taxpayer dollars are going. So we're here to support our residents and make sure that we're taking care of them appropriately. So going back to progress, is there going to be any way to provide any kind of line item reconciliation showing the variances between the 6C reports and the county budget actuals, even moving forward from 2026 on?
The only way for us to do that effectively would be to use my cartograph work management system and then do a budget reconciliation on some kind of a frequency to show that the money is actually county money spent in Pueblo West,
And
because the systems are separate.
we can see what we can do with our 27 budget in terms of line items and marking the work according to the proper cost centers. And since we are moving to a more powerful system, I think we'll have a better understanding of each of these line items. But
Appreciate that.
on the same point, though, my unsolicited suggestion and personal opinion is everybody, I think, can agree that we want better roads. People in Pueblo West want better roads. People in Pueblo County want better roads. It's one of the core functions of government, and I think we can all agree on that. And to be honest, every moment that we spend trying to play gotcha with the numbers and with the data and auditing and, pointing, at numbers on a page or numbers on a spreadsheet is a moment that we don't have of really working together to identify the needs of the actual roads that need to be fixed and how we can work together to, with George and his crew and see where the issues actually are and come up with a plan to actually fix the roads instead of talking about the numbers behind the roads. So that's
Yeah.
just my personal
I
opinion.
appreciate the comments. And I'm not a politician, so forgive me for being blunt. It's about accountability in government, accountability in use of tax dollars. That's what the numbers are for. And that's why I'm asking for them. If we're looking to correct things for 2027 budget, create those line items and be able to track it better, that's great. That's what we're asking for so that we can move forward in a more positive light. But to get to that point, we need to kind of understand where our faults might have been, even just recently, and so we can move forward correctly.
And I
And
agree.
I
and
appreciate all of your information that you're providing, truly.
I agree. And unfortunately, past leadership is not here in this room to be accountable, but I know that our current leadership is dedicated to making sure our data is improved, and we've set a path towards a more structured and compliant 2027 budget. And we're looking forward to the fruits of that across the county. And
Absolutely.
I think you will also, as the board of Pueblo West, benefit from that.
Appreciate that.
I just want to clarify one thing. This ain't a gotcha moment. We've been trying to have this meeting for months, over 6 months. Okay? And it's supposed to be a discussion. We're supposed to be looking at this and fixing problems. Okay? And like the verbiage you referred to earlier, okay? I would like to say that it's not a gotcha moment. We've been trying to get with the 3 county commissioners on the roads all at one time, okay? And yeah, there are special circumstances that come up where those meetings gotta be canceled or rescheduled, but I just want to say thank you for tonight. Honestly, thank you, okay? Because our constituents know that we're looking out for their best interest. And your taxpayers, your constituents out in Pueblo West. So it's not a gotcha moment. Let's bring it to a realization moment. In reality, when you see cities abroad within the state and in other states dealing with huge deficits, if we don't fix them now, our future is going to be broke for our children. So it's not a gotcha moment. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Brian, you brought up
Sir.
the MS4 permit, and I think that's important that we kind of at least have a brief conversation regarding the
Correct, that was
MS4
my
tonight
next.
while we're all here. So I guess my question would be, what does the Metro District believe to be the condition of your MS4 permit? And how would you like to see those conversations continue? I know the IGA said something would hopefully be hashed out in 2023. That obviously didn't happen. So the Metro Board or the Metro District is the holder of the MS4 permit. How would you guys like to see those conversations play out between, these new boards that have never been involved in that MS4 conversation?
It's a good question, and I'll invite Christian to answer most of that in more detail. I know that the conversation about an MS4 permit and county taking that over, the reason behind that is because drainage is such a big issue in Pueblo West. And there is an opportunity to align the drainage issue with the MS4 permit in some sort of enterprise fund situation. I don't see that you can do that without owning both. But I'll let Christian speak more to that.
So good evening, joint boards and staff. Christian J. Hine, District Manager. So I'll try to be real brief on the quick history. The conversation about transferring the standard MS4 permit came about separately from the IGA. It was about the same time we started talking about the roads. The concept behind it was unique for a metropolitan district to be a standard permit holder, not a non-standard permit holder. The only difference between those two is standard permit holders oversee commercial entities or anybody else outside of their own facilities. Conversation started between the county's public works team, our public works team, and started a conversation, and it happened to coincide with the roads IGA. At the time, we recognized that there were challenges with the definitions and the responsibilities associated with drainage versus stormwater management. We were hopeful that the conversation would continue because recognizing that the largest conveyance system in the district for all drainage or stormwater happens to be the roads and the rights of way. And we saw it as a natural alignment, understanding that there was also additional costs for drainage improvements for it. So we couldn't solve it by the time of the 2023 roads IGA. That's why it's stipulated in there as something we hope to resolve by the end of that year. Conversations did ensue with different joint boards. If it's okay to say, I think the most recent thing I had seen was sometime last year, a draft presentation that was being developed saying, hey, this might be what a stormwater utility would look like. Here's some options or things to consider. That was done with a previous staff administration on the county side. And then we didn't have a conversation after that, and that could have happened for any number of reasons. But I think we're hopeful that understanding that drainage and stormwater are two separate things that do happen to overlap in some areas, having it under one consolidated management system, whether that was county or the district, in this case, it would make sense for the county, has been why we've had that as part of conversations we've wanted to continue.
So just a quick question, would Public West be willing to pay for an audit or jointly pay for an audit, however that looks like, of compliance for the permit? And assuming that's fine, then reopen negotiations, potentially do an agreement at that time? That is my big concern legally.
Gotcha. I think it would be a conversation we'd have to have. I don't think I don't think there would be opposition towards doing it or making sure that there was something formally dictating or auditing what happens before a transition would take place. But and this is just an opinion, I think that it would be desired to be as a condition of intent to transition.
I think that's fair. I think my big hesitation, speaking as one commissioner, if in contemplating the county taking on that MS4 permit, is we don't know I'll say the condition of it. We don't know if the metro is in compliance with the MS4 permit. I think that's kind of a mystery. And so to head down the road of the county taking it on, we can't really go there until we know that it's in good standing with the state and we're not, backing ourselves into a
Yeah,
30,
totally fair.
$50 million hole.
Totally fair. And I know we have tests.
We do our state reporting and submit it. As far as a third-party audit, I know we rely on a third-party contractor. I don't think we've been audited necessarily. They facilitate our permit compliance requirements. But as far as doing a third-party audit, we can have that conversation.
Okay. And we could supply our reports for the last couple of years that are available. Should be public knowledge.
Can you guys look into that then, that third party audit?
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you. I know we're almost out of time. I have a question for you, for commissioners, something that we've kind of tossed around just for future conversations. Would you be willing to form some sort of joint road commission to address current and future questions, concerns, something that doesn't require all of us?
What, just like one?
So that we don't have so one of you, one of us, maybe two of us, just so we don't have a quorum and then have to have a public meeting. And
Are those activities that can take place at the regular sales tax meeting?
that's a good question. It might dive into, there might be questions that would dive into issues outside of the 1% sales tax,
That's fine.
but maybe perhaps after.
I don't think there's any objection or concern with coinciding them. The oversight committee would still be its independent role. But I think President Axworthy is kind of articulating is that it's to solve challenges between the expectations of joint boards, not necessarily the oversight committee's responsibility, which is ensuring that the 1% sales tax is spent at Pueblo West. So they might be two separate intents.
It'd be somewhat like having the same conversation we had today, only maybe more frequent, so that we cover issues or be able to bring back issues back to our prospective bodies and for further discussion and answers.
I'm not opposed to it. I think that we can do something like we're doing right now on a more frequent basis. I think you guys are gonna have a lot to digest in the information that Greg has provided. So I would suggest reading through that, getting through that, and then if we want to schedule another meeting as this is, I think we could easily do that.
Okay.
And, you know, just, so if you guys can look into the stormwater in that audit, I think that that would get us off on a right foot, that then we can start having some intelligent conversations, because then we know the facts of it. Stormwater is obviously a big issue out there, and it's a big reason of why the roads the way that, and the way that they are. When roads don't have curbs and gutters, they tend to fall off.
Those are two, and I've had to learn this myself, those are two separate entities, so to speak. So stormwater has nothing to do with drainage. Stormwater is the quality of the water, and drainage is the flow of water.
Okay. So I think that, yeah, we need to get those numbers, or get that audit done. And again, I think that this board has always been under the impression of public being fair. Again, I live in Pueblo West on a dirt road too, but being fair to Pueblo West residents, that the only thing that is taking care of their roads is not that 1%. And we've never adhered to that. We've tried to be as equitable as possible from your general road and bridge dollar, allocating a percentage to that. And I keep alluding to the new software that was implemented this year, but that's a big deal because it was very difficult to extract numbers previous to that. So that's where I think a lot of that reporting, and to Paula's point, even being able to determine more resources going out to Pueblo West that aren't on the books. And I mean, I've even had conversations, many of them actually, on another historic problem with Pueblo West is there was development, and then there was no development agreements or anything else like that. So we're working now with our planning department, our building department, to try and institute now a development agreement, because you don't want to, if somebody wants to go build something out there right now, they're not responsible for the last 30 years, but they are responsible for their percentage of what they are going to impact. So we can start implementing that too, because you guys know as well as I do, historically, it was just build, and then there was nothing contributed by those developers to the infrastructure that they certainly impacted. So
Yeah.
Greg and I have had meetings on that, and
Mistakes of the past, I know, we know all full well.
yeah.
So, yeah. So our position has been to, you know, we can't see the data, but show us. Looks like that's kind of an issue from 2023 till this current year, but it sounds like you might have that resolved. Thank you very much for that. And then 2027, it sounds like we'll be in a better place for line item description. Preferably a specialized fund balance, or fund for Pueblo West roads, reserve fund, so that we can further track revenue. So it's not in one large pot, and hopefully we'll be able to move special revenue fund. Thank you.
Sorry, the special fund idea is not a bad one, and I'm going to put that on my to-do list.
Appreciate
for
that.
myself to take a look at that.
Okay. So
And then-
thank you for working with us moving forward. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with the new recording abilities that we have, I know that we've talked in the past about better publicizing the work that we have done and are going to continue to do, because, you know, sometimes if you don't tell people what's going on and what you've done, it's not appreciated. I mean, you live in your little area, and you go back to work and forth in that area, but you may not notice that Boyera was completely repaved. Like, I mean, we've done a lot out there. There's still obviously a ton of work to do. We certainly recognize that potholes are an issue. We hear about it probably just as much, if not more, than you guys. And so Greg and his team are consistently working towards being creative, and looking at every possible option to make those roads as good as they can be.
We look forward to the data. Absolutely.
Who gets the reading material?
Yeah.
You're
man
not
over
gonna
there.
sleep for a while? Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Take it.
We'll convene a special meeting or something to go over it once they have a chance to review it.
Yeah, I would say just that. I mean, go over that data, And then if we need to get another meeting, which we probably should anyway,
Yep.
maybe before the end of the year, just something like this. And then you guys can bring up any questions. You guys obviously know how to get a hold of us. In the meantime, you can ask us any questions too, and we can publicly do something like this again.
Are you guys expecting to have a proposed budget in October, November?
October
2027,
15th is when
October
we'll have
15th.
our preliminary budget. Yes, sir.
Great, thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
If it's okay to say one thing.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I do appreciate the presentation, Robert. It was a great presentation. I liked a lot of the information and a lot of it aligned with what I think historically was there. So I appreciate you all taking the time. I did just want to highlight that the alternative path to this, the 2023 agreement, the 1% sales tax would have been Pueblo West sending that notice to terminate. And it would have been a 5-year or 60-month timeline. And the alternative would have been Pueblo County taking the roads this November, no sales tax after the fires, in the midst of the financial concerns. So understanding that there are headaches, this has been probably a much preferred path comparatively. So appreciate the opportunity to work together to figure out how to move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, our next meeting will be determined. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned.